Tensions also rising on the Korean peninsula. North Korean state media KCNA says Kim Jong Un has called for officials to fundamentally and substantially improve the military's capabilities for fighting an actual war. The North Korean leader says the U.S. and its allies, including South Korea, have brought tension to, quote, the worst phase in history. Well, for more now, let's speak to Grant Newsham. He's Senior Research Fellow at the Japan Forum for Strategic Studies. Thank you very much for your time today, sir. So we're hearing Kim Jong Un calling on military officials to complete war preparations. And we know he's also essentially abandoned the goal of peaceful reunification with South Korea. So break down all this rhetoric for us. How seriously should we be looking at North Korea's state of readiness, and what sort of combat capabilities are we talking about?
Well, I take it very seriously. We've, of course, heard this kind of language from Kim before. But at the same time, he's acting like somebody who knows he has the backing of Russia, of China, and that is a lot of support. You can see the assistance he has given the Russians from day one of the war in Ukraine. And he's done it without any real concern he's going to be punished by anybody. He doesn't appear to fear sanctions, which are really meaningless at this point. The Chinese and the Russians are not at all enforcing them, nor is the West, actually. They're just watching. Now, the North Korean military, of course, has its limits as to what it can do on the peninsula, say if it were to attack South Korea. But it has improved its missile capabilities, its nuclear capabilities, its delivery systems, to the point where even the United States is in range now. This has just been an engineering problem. The North Korean military has improved. As I said, in an all-out war, it might have some trouble if it went after South Korea and the Americans. But that's not the way to look at it. You have to look at what North Korea is doing in conjunction with what Russia is doing in Europe, with what China is doing to support Russia, but also China's intentions in the Pacific. So it's one part of a bigger puzzle. And this is something to be very concerned about.
Speaking of pieces of a puzzle, let's bring in Donald Trump. We know he's set to enter the Oval Office in just a few weeks. He has long said that NATO members don't really take their defense seriously. Are North Korea's moves a testament to that? How emboldened will North Korea become amidst a second Trump presidency, do you think?
Well, I think they're going to be less emboldened than they were under the Biden administration. And we have 4 years of empirical evidence. And you have Putin invading Ukraine. You have the Chinese throwing their weight around. North Korea's capabilities have improved, as I've described. So nothing that the Biden administration did seemed to deter North Korea or anyone else for that matter. And it's worth remembering how Team Biden crowed that they were the adults who were taking over. Well, I would hate to see what the children would have done. A Trump administration is going to very much understand the risks facing not just the United States, but the entire free world. And they are going to be far stricter, far tougher on North Korea, China, and Russia. But things have deteriorated to the point where the new administration has its work cut out for it.
The world is focused on so many wars, multiple wars at the moment, Ukraine, the Middle East as well, of course. In terms of strategy, could preoccupation with these other wars serve as a reason for North Korea to potentially start a conflict now?
It could, but I think we're perhaps more likely to see North Korea make a move in conjunction with something someone else does. For example, if Russia makes a move against, say, the Baltic nations, or if China makes a move on Taiwan, I think we can expect North Korea to make a supporting move to at least serve as a distraction. Could distract U.S., Japanese forces, and of course, South Korean forces as well. So I don't see North Korea actually launching an attack on its own volition. But I do see it operating as part of a supporting effort of other nations that would make a move. And as I said, Russia and China are the two ones to really watch out for.
Yeah, that leads me to my next question. We know North Korea has deployed troops to Russia to support Moscow's war with Ukraine. Washington now approving long-range weapons to be used in Russian territory. How much more involvement do you expect to see from Pyongyang when it comes to Russia?
Well, I think they'll do whatever they're asked, and what they have provided already has been considerable. Millions of artillery shells, small arms ammunition, and long-range rockets and missiles. This is a lot, and they would not have done it if they didn't have approval from their friends in Beijing. So sending troops, of course, that's even something just more extraordinary. North Korea, of all people, really a starving country, feels comfortable enough, feels that it has enough support to send large numbers of infantry to Russian-held Ukraine to fight with the Russians. This must embarrass the Russians to no end, to have an Asian nation have to come and back them up. But it does show how Kim Jong Un feels that he doesn't really have anything to fear from anyone. And that is because he has the backing, the political backing, not least, of China and Russia.
So it seems like Kim Jong Un has nothing to fear, but does the Indo-Pacific, North Korea's involvement in Russia's war has escalated the conflict. Some say that it has bridged European and Indo-Pacific security threats. What's your take? What impact will there be on this region?
Well, I'd be very concerned because the nations that I've been talking about, they all have their interests. And particularly when you have a big fight going on in Europe and in the Middle East, that, as I said, is a distraction. And the West, the United States, can only handle so many fights at once. So if, say, Beijing does want to make a move in Asia, say against Taiwan, even against the Philippines, it may feel that it has kind of a sort of an opening, and that nobody is going to really be willing or able to stop them. And North Korea plays a role in this, as I said, as in a supporting role. But these nations have their interests. They are aggressive. They are looking to expand. And I think that we just may have some more trouble coming our way in the Asia-Pacific region.
Understood. Appreciate your insights today, sir. Grant Newsham, Senior Research Fellow at the Japan Forum for Strategic Studies. Thank you very much.